Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calling All Captains. Today we explore leadership and the intricacies of captaincy. We aim to take you on a journey detailing the role captaincy plays in sport and all walks of life.
That's right, Michael. By the end of this broadcast, we know you'll feel inspired after some great leaders in sport and beyond share their thoughts and experiences.
That's right, Pat. I am excited, let me tell you. We have a full lineup with some special guests checking in with us along the way as well. I don't know about you, Patrick, but I cannot wait to dive in. So without further ado, let's kick things off with a very special feature from Cara Tiemens, a member of the women's basketball team here at Ryerson University.
Goes to Pasca, can't hang on to it, gathers. Outside for Tiemens, 4-3, and it's good! Cara Tiemens with a big-time three. And Coca-Cola Court is sent into a frenzy.
This is Cara Tiemens, a guard from Newmarket, Ontario. She's in her third season with the Ryerson Rams. Tiemens has shined for the Rams, but years ago, basketball was not the sport she thought she'd be playing.
I started playing basketball when I was 4. I was originally in soccer, but then one of my best friends was playing basketball and she asked me to join the team. So then obviously it was just house league at the time, and then I grew to love the game more and I moved on to rep. Well, originally I thought I was going to go to university for soccer, but then the summer of grade 10 I was doing a basketball program in the summer which conflicted with soccer. And my soccer coach basically told me that I had to make a choice, and I decided to go with basketball. So since then, I knew that I wanted to play competitively at the university level.
On a young Rams team, Cara has taken it upon herself to be a leader both on and off the court.
We have a really big recruiting class this year. We have 5 recruits. So I knew coming in that I would kind of have to be a leader because they're all guards. So I knew at the guard position I would really have to mentor them. So I think being a leader to me is really just making sure that I set a good example for them and making sure I help them with whatever they need. And yeah, just making sure they feel integrated into the team and make sure they feel comfortable coming to talk to me about anything. Leadership is something we've really focused on. One of our assistant coaches, Jason Seeley, has his master's in leadership, and he does actual leadership programs with us in the summer. So we've really been focusing on our 2 buzzwords, which is Kia Kaha and Ishtian. So those mean be strong, stay strong, and servant type leadership. So we've really been focusing on those 2. So I say that's what we've been focusing on this year. So this year we had a team leadership group, and then we had a leadership group that was just the seniors. So that included me, Soph, Kat, Chloe, Savannah, and Tash. So we actually had our own individual meeting to lay out kind of the ground rules for how the team would go this year and how the team dynamic would be.
Looking ahead at the rest of the season, Tiemens and the other experienced players on the team look to lead the Rams to a successful season and hopefully an OUA championship.
Well, thank you, Cara, for that wonderful interview. I think that provided a lot of good insight there is into the student-athlete dynamic that can really go unnoticed at times, eh, Pat?
Oh, for sure. And I think one of the key things there was that when you think of the mystery behind what makes a good captain in sports, oftentimes you have to look at who's a great leader in real life.
That's true. And for a student-athlete, that means learning to juggle their studies as well as their sport.
Spot on, Michael. And now it's time we shift gears a little bit over to Greg Westlake, captain of the Canadian Paralympic men's sledge hockey team. We'll see what he has to say in this feature.
The expectation's gold, and it's not just because we're a Canadian hockey team. It's because we love the guys in the room. We're a real tight-knit team. We want to do it for each other. Greg Westlake, captain and center for the Canadian national sledge hockey team. I was the youngest of 4 kids, and so when both my feet were amputated, I think my parents made a really conscious effort to not treat me any differently. So I was always playing with my older siblings and road hockey and all the same activities. So for the longest time as a kid growing up, like I had no idea that, you know, I was any different. I just played and just hung out. It wasn't until you kind of get a little bit older, kind of when kids are hitting puberty and stuff starts getting really competitive, that I realized, like, man, I love hockey, but I don't see how I'm going to be the first NHL player on two artificial legs. In 2006, I was an 18-year-old kid. I didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. I didn't understand how big, you know, the Olympics and Paralympics were, and, you know, the amount of people that watched and followed. So for me, I just went to play a hockey tournament and do well. And so I think almost being young and kind of being ignorant to the size of the games was almost helpful to me. So I just showed up, had a good tournament, the team played well, and we won a gold medal.
Yeah, Greg's a couple years older than me. He played at the Paralympic Games the year before I made the team. Obviously he had a little bit of experience, and he was a big player in that game, the gold medal game in 2006. So coming in for me the next season, he was someone I looked up to and kind of someone I watched to play the game I wanted to play. And the next year, all of a sudden, I'm his teammate, and I'm rooming with him on the road or something like that. So it's kind of an interesting experience to go from kind of someone I look up to somebody I'm an equal with now. You know,
Sochi 2014 was a bit of a wild year. That was my first time I ever experienced being a captain in a Paralympic year, and it definitely is a lot more to take on. You do a lot of media. You just, every day is busy. And so I think I'm so much more prepared now this year, you know, going into Pyeongchang because of 2014. I learned so much that year. I was a bit older. I was in my mid-20s. And so we did okay, but we were able to do what we didn't do in Vancouver, which we learned the gold medal game. We were upset. We were angry about that, but we learned from that previous experience and had a really good bronze medal game. And even now, it's so nice to come back and have that medal. I think when you go through a low point athletically, you know, some people will tell you it's okay to relive it. It's okay to do this and learn from those experiences. For me, I just tucked it away. To me, the stuff in the past, there's nothing you can do about it. I think once you realize that, but I mean, I also feel the same way about winning. You know, we won the World Championship last year, and so everyone goes, oh, so you should be good to win a gold medal this year. But that was last year. It's a completely different year now. One thing that helps me with failure or losses in sports is you worked hard, you left it all out there, you took the risk, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. But you know, I respect people that take those risks and take those challenges, and I want to do it again and again and again until I get it right.
This winter comes a new comedy that absolutely nobody is talking about. Meet Stan. He's just a guy who has a passion for basketball.
I've never played basketball, ever, but
for some reason, Stan thinks this is basketball. What an idiot. He knows just as much about basketball as Stephen A. Smith. Stand witness to the second worst comedy on television behind The Big Bang Theory. Starring Hugh Jackman, Seth Rogen, Enrique Iglesias, and Leonardo DiCaprio. The Production Office, Tuesdays at 8, only on the RTA network. Whoa, wait.
Welcome back to Calling All Captains. I'm sure you're getting tired of hearing our voices so much.
What? Never.
I think it's time we hand it over to our in-studio panel. Grant and Jesse, take it away, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys. Now, with regard to the value of captaincy in the National Basketball Association, things are just a tad different as opposed to other sports. Isn't that right, Grant?
Exactly. In basketball, you will not find the C on any jerseys, and the role of a team's official captain is nothing more than pregame formalities. Instead, captains naturally emerge through leadership on the court. Now, when we're talking about great leadership, take LeBron James of the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example. Whether playing for the Cavs or Miami, LeBron has cemented himself as the ultimate leader throughout his career. His work ethic and persistence in pushing his teammates to constantly improve has benefited every single player that he has shared the floor with.
Now, obviously with the good comes the, well, not so good. We're all aware of New Orleans Pelicans big man DeMarcus Cousins' on-court antics, as well as constant negative reviews from past teammates and coaches. When comparing the on-court success of teams led by Cousins as opposed to James, the numbers are telling.
You're right. As we look at the board, it's quite obvious that James's leadership ability has transcended teams, whereas Cousins' negative behavior in a leadership role has clearly damaged his teams. Sure, there are other factors involved in team success, but the graphic shows that skill is not everything.
Exactly, Grant. The value of quality leadership is a necessity in basketball. Sure, the skill set of both players is undeniable. However, the difference maker remains LeBron's unprecedented leadership ability. It's as clear as night as day, right, Grant?
Yeah, it is.
In fact, LeBron took his leadership a step further this year, implementing social media into his repertoire of leadership qualities. On a near weekly basis, James would share videos encouraging himself, along with his teammates, to continue to grind towards the then upcoming season. Not only has James' leadership permeated on the court, but now fans were able to witness it anywhere through social media. This is truly 21st century leadership. Grant? Exactly.
And, for fans, it's the first time that they've really been able to see LeBron James and his phenomenal work ethic off the court. Truly something that, has really transcended the basketball game.
Exactly. Now, Grant, how is a great basketball leader? How does that differ from that of another sport?
Exactly. Well, so let's start off with baseball. You have a manager relaying commands to coaches, who in turn inform the players what they should be doing. This limits the leadership from to the managerial spot. In hockey, captaincy is literally assigned to the player with a C or an A on the jersey. In football, it's widely accepted that the quarterback and the head coach positions lead the team. The captain in soccer is the only player who's granted the right to, on the team to approach the referees about a certain call. Although, as we see a lot of times in soccer, it's not always the case, as these players really do not truly understand the meaning of that role.
Yeah, sometimes those guys just don't get the memo, eh?
Exactly.
Very well put. Other than one individual being the first to accept and hoist the team's championship trophy at the end of the season, captaincy in the NBA is a team affair. And with that being said, guys, we'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, thanks for that analysis, guys. Moving on next, we have a bit of a different segment. We have our Captain Colin, where we have two very esteemed leaders joining us as guests via telephone.
That's right, Pat. And first up, we have Bruno Guévremont. Bruno is a veteran, entrepreneur, North Pole explorer, and Invictus Games ambassador, among many other things. He's led a team of soldiers, was captain of Team Canada at the 2016 Invictus Games, and is now dedicated to supporting the health and well-being of the veteran and emergency services community. For more, here's a short video documenting Bruno by True Patriot Love.
I joined the military because I had a deep sense of purpose of serving my country. On my second tour, we were the busiest team of the whole campaign in Afghanistan. There was a lot of pretty close calls. When I came back, I started getting anxiety, getting stress, depression. I found out that I had post-traumatic stress disorder. At first, it was a little bit difficult. I had to heal myself. Fitness had what has helped me throughout my life. So I decided to open a gym. And what it gave me was an opportunity to help other vets. And now with TPL helping with some of the fundings, then we can help many more.
What a truly inspiring man. And now, kind enough to join us today via telephone is Bruno Guévremont. How are you doing today, Bruno?
Very good. Yourself, Michael?
I'm doing well, thank you. You're a leader in the field of mental health, working with Bell, Let's Talk. Tell us a bit about your story and how you overcame your own struggles.
Well, when you get diagnosed, it's something that's really hard to take, right? You go through the whole, phase of denial, and then after that, right after that phase, you go through the phase of, now you're just broken. You just know what's next. Nothing's going to happen. You're getting released from the military, and it's really hard to find yourself in those. But I think there was a lot of growth happening there. And for me, I was very fortunate. The thought came to me and said, hey, what was I doing when I was at the top of my game? And that's sports. I was doing CrossFit at the time. And then I started doing those workouts again and getting physically fit. So fitness was the way for me to recover. And then from there, I started looking at ways to help myself, me and others around me deal with mental health and post-traumatic stress disorder.
And what a great way to give back to the community and give back to those with whom you served. Now, it must have been a huge honor being named the captain of Team Canada at the Invictus Games last year. Tell us how it felt playing such a key role for your country.
Well, you're right. It was a great honor and still is. You know what? To be a name team captain, to be asked to lead these 30 ill and injured soldiers, not only to get back on track and to train and to do these things and to deal with everything that life throws at you, but also to ask them to leave, because it was in Orlando, right? To leave Canada and to go to Orlando and be in a very busy, very active, with lots of crowds environment. And we really grew together as a team. And my main role was to make sure that the athletes got to the start line. And then they took it from there. We had 28 athletes and we finished with 22 medals.
Well, that's spectacular. That sounds like it was a phenomenal experience, Bruno. What's the one message you hope to express to others struggling with their own mental health issues?
Recognize your mental health. Like, actually take it on. Once you accept that you have whatever condition it is, whether it be anxiety, depression, bipolar, anything that gives you a challenge with mental health, the minute that you recognize it is the minute that you can do something about it. Right. There's a lot of organizations out there that are looking for people that need help. Your peers, your family. Once you say, hey, listen, I want to do something good about this, is to reach out, because you're not alone, right? And for me, it was understanding post-traumatic stress disorder. And the minute that I understood it, I could start healing it. And, there's a lot of healing in helping others as well. So once you reach out, you're going to find out that there's others out there that are suffering, and then you can help them, and it helps you.
Those are some wise words to live by. Thank you very much for joining us today, Bruno. It's been an honor.
Thank you for me to be part of you guys' stuff.
Thanks, Bruno.
It was our pleasure. That was truly inspiring, speaking with Bruno there, wasn't it, Michael?
It truly was. I'm glad that we could shed some light on mental health and leadership.
Moving on now to Jeb St. Clair, our second interview. Jeb is a Canadian rugby national squad mainstay who's now taking a break from competition to help coach the under-18 Canadian team. He joins us now. Jeb, thanks for being with us today.
Not a problem.
Can you tell us about how you got into rugby and any notable coaches or captains that really instilled those leadership qualities in you during your younger years?
Yeah, well, when I was 16, I broke my leg and I wasn't able to play hockey. So come spring, I just wanted to play a team sport to sort of get rid of some of that aggression. So I joined the rugby team. And as for coaches, I mean, it was more sort of picking up what they did. Going through my career, that's where I kind of got my learnings from. As I would see some people that were, respected in the game, as I was getting older, I was like, what do they do? How do they handle themselves? Stuff like that.
Well, you made 42 appearances for the Team Canada national squad. 33 of them were starts. Now, in 2011, during your first World Cup, tell us who the captain was and what his leadership style was like.
Captain of that tour was a guy named Pat Riordan. And one of the things that he was really good at, he wasn't your typical, he wasn't really a raw captain at all. One of the things that made him really good and a really good leader was how hard he had to work to get there. He didn't have too much natural ability at all. But for his sort of 6-8 year national team career, he was sort of the first one out on the field and the last one to leave, and he was always working on the really small parts of his game because those were the ones that came really hard to him. Something that I picked up from him was he didn't just say, "Hey guys, we need to be doing our extras. We need to be be the hardest working team." He just did it. He rarely brought it up. He rarely spoke about it, and he made sure that his intensity level was always high. Overall, a lot of the captains, that is their mantra, is just the extra work and everything that you can do to make yourself a better player.
And transitioning now to your club career with the London Irish, you were widely regarded as a very charismatic leader and a big presence in the locker room during your 6-year tenure with the English squad. Tell us about the main differences on the club level and how you managed to lead that team in a less traditional way.
So the captains and the leaders, I mean, they had a lot of stuff to do, like, on the field with making decisions and that kind of stuff. So I just thought, you know what, like, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, have more than my fair share of the duties off the field. So they always get most of the media pressure anyway. They have to do the interviews. They have to do the phone calls to the newspapers and stuff like that. And that's all about rugby. So I thought, you know what, I'll try to take a bit of the off-field stuff away from those guys so that they're not bombarded with that as well. And I kind of just try to make that my role for 4 or 5 years.
Wow, that's spectacular. Now you are taking a break from competition and have shifted your focus to coaching. What's it like transitioning from player for the London Irish to one of the coaches on the U18 Team Canada rugby squad?
I guess myself, I never got selected to any age grade programs. So I just thought I'd really like to be here to cast my eyes over players that I think aren't just going to be able to make the under 18 team, but have the skills or the mental capacity to kick on to the national side. Because there's a lot of guys at this level that are going to have 2 or 3 of the key ingredients, and that's going to make them stand out a lot, but they might not have the desire or the work ethic to do it. And I just kind of wanted to make sure that if there was any diamonds in the rough, that I was potentially able to cast my eye on some of them and say, like, listen, give this guy a couple more shots. I think he could be a real asset to Canada moving forward. So that's one of the things. And I guess rugby's just given me so much that I just wanted to give back, and I didn't want to wait. So the second I landed in Vancouver, I just sent out a bunch of emails. I'm back in Canada. I want to give back. Like, point me in the right direction. Who do I talk to? And let's just go from there. So that's what I'm doing at the minute. Just having 12-hour days, like trying to interact with these 16 and 17-year-old kids.
Well, Jeb, what you're doing for these kids, giving back to rugby, is truly noble. On behalf of Calling All Captains, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Oh, cheers, man. I appreciate it. Really good to talk to you. Anytime.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, it's our pleasure. Jeb truly is a leader in his own right, and I think it speaks volumes about who he is and his character, giving back to rugby like that.
I couldn't agree more, Pat. We have one last break in the show, but we'll be right back with more from Calling All Captains.
This winter comes a new comedy that absolutely nobody is talking about. Meet Stan. He's just a guy who has a passion for basketball.
I've never played basketball, ever, but
for some reason, Stan thinks this is basketball. What an idiot. He knows just as much about basketball as Stephen A. Smith. Stand witness to the second worst comedy on television behind The Big Bang Theory. Starring Hugh Jackman, Seth Rogen, Enrique Iglesias, and Leonardo DiCaprio. The Production Office, Tuesdays at 8, only on the RTA network. Whoa, wait.
Welcome back once again to Calling All Captains. Now, we had quite the social media campaign in the lead up to the broadcast, and for more on that, here's our social media correspondent, Serena Adatia, with the latest. Serena?
Thanks, guys. So, being in Toronto, one of the biggest topics to come out of the city this year was that Mike Babcock did not assign a captain for the Toronto Maple Leafs this season. So we decided to take this to social media to see what our fans had to say about this. So if we take a close look here, we can see that only 36% of our followers voted against Babcock's no captain idea, while 64% of our fans actually agreed with Babcock that the Leafs indeed do not need a captain. We also ran a poll asking the next Leafs captain who it should be, options being Matthews, Marner, Kadri, or another player. And not surprisingly, Austin Matthews took the top spot with 50% of the votes. Marner and Kadri both individually received 10% of the votes, while 33% of our followers voted for none of the above. This is what our social media followers said. Now let's see what game day ready Leaf fans had to say. Let's go to Leah DeSaris, who interviewed fans outside the Air Canada Centre.
Can I get your name, sir?
My name's Joe.
Chris Roberts. Matt.
Matthew.
So we're here at the Vegas Golden Knights game, and the Leafs currently do not have a captain. What are your thoughts on that?
At this point, I think because of how young the team is and where they're kind of going, it's not a bad thing. Normally, you'd want to have that leadership role, but because of how well this team seems to be gelling together, I find that it's just not as important this year.
Austin Matthews all the way.
Yeah?
Great leader, good leadership skills on the ice. If not him, Morgan Riley, next in line.
And when do you want to see Matthews get the C?
Start of next season. I think it's too much pressure still. He's still a young guy, but next season, he's got it.
I think it's a rebuilding stage as of right now, and we have a lot of young guys. Maybe if we get an older player, we could maybe give him the captaincy, but as of right now, I think we're good as where we are standing.
Just seeing everyone stepping up, playing their part. Everyone knows their role. They don't need one guy to be a leader. They have a bunch of leaders, and I think early in the season for this team, they're expansion team, so they didn't need a captain right away. So maybe later in the season they will, or maybe they'll just keep it the same.
And if later on in the year is there to choose one, who do you want to see wearing the C?
I think Derek England's got it. He's from Vegas, and I think he could step up and be a captain. He seems like he's been a leader so far in the season, so I think he could do it.
Well, they don't call it Maple Leaf Square for nothing. Leah now joins us to talk to us a little bit about the Maple Leafs captaincy situation. Welcome to the show, Leah.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So first things first, what was the general feel of those fans that you spoke with outside of the ACC? Who'd they have a consensus for?
There was a general consensus among the fans that despite how well they were doing, and it's still a developing season, so they didn't see the top priority as having a captain. However, most do want to see Matthews taking the C, and he's such a strong player on the ice, and his level of maturity is impressive, so I can definitely see him being a captain.
And you actually got to speak with a couple of Vegas Golden Knights fans, so what did they have to say about their newly anointed expansion team?
They were super excited for what the team had to offer with everything that happened this summer in Vegas with the Vegas shooting. It was really exciting to see them come together, and one person that really instigated that Vegas strong was their defenseman, Derek England. And I hope to see him wear the captaincy next season as well.
Well, sport truly is the ultimate unifier. So to segue out of that one, I'm going to ask you a question, Leah. Who's the greatest Leafs captain of all time, in your opinion?
For me, I would have to say probably Doug Gilmour. He's done everything both on and off the ice, and he's been such an offensive and defensive player. He's really helped his teammates play the game well, and he's just everything you would want to see in a captain.
So now I'm gonna pivot it over to you, Pat. Who's your greatest Leaf captain?
Well, I got nothing bad to say about Doug Gilmour, but in my lifetime, I've seen really only two captains, one of those being Dion Phaneuf and the other being Matt Sundin. So out of those two, I think I got to go with Matt Sundin on this one. And I think one of the big things that was brought up is off-ice leadership as well, and that's been a theme throughout this show. And I think Matt Sundin definitely exemplified that to a high degree.
100%. Dion Phaneuf, I think he was miscast truly and effectively. He shouldn't have been given that kind of derailed and miscast in a very, very volatile media center that is
That's
Toronto.
Not to say it was Dion Phaneuf's fault.
No, that's not his fault. Exactly.
But we have a very bright future ahead. And I gotta say, I'm very proud to call myself a Leafs fan today.
100%. I'd have to go with Matt Sundin as well. I think he's one of the greatest NHL players never to win a cup. Now, moving on, we truly broke down leadership in all forms, didn't we, Pat?
I gotta say, I think we had a great show today.
100%. Now, I think it relates back to this point that we made before about captaincy. Really love that. Now, we appreciate everyone's time here right now, and I feel like we can leave you with this, that leadership is something that you're born with. It's not something that you just attain. Thank you very much. This is Calling All Captains signing off.